Hey, sweetheart. So I had an interview scheduled for right now. Microphone. Um, I had an interview on my calendar and it didn't happen. So I thought, well, I brushed my hair. I'll go do a live. I've been up in the land, so I just wanted to give an update and share some thoughts. I've been up on the land for over the weekend and helping with the remodeling project in Las Vegas, New Mexico. So lots of physical labor happening. I'm getting strong. It's good. And lots of progress. So just really, really exciting times. I'll share some photos. I haven't yet. And it's cold. So two things. Hi, everybody. We have a water tank up on the land that's 150, it's 250 gallons. We have it filled up, hey Sabrina, to 150 gallons right now, pumped from the well. And I got up the other day and went and knocked on the water tank just to see how it was doing. It was frozen solid, which was super impressive. So now up on the land, it gets more interesting because it's way more difficult now because we don't have running water. So I'll figure out a bowl, but it's just interesting going into winter to figure out next steps. Happily, I'm able to stay warm in the tent. So when I'm up on the land, which is most weekends, I have a 12 by 15 tent that has a structure in it. So it's super solid. And it has a wood stove in it. So it's been, I've been able to keep it warm, even when it's like down to 20 degrees up there. So yay. Bye-bye, whoever you are, Prince Lovely. Okay, hey, Wendy. So that's exciting. More worthy obstacles. The other thing is I just put out a blog post. It's taken me a while to write this blog. I started it last week. Usually it takes me 2 or 3 days to write a blog that I send out. And this one has taken me, oh, I bet. Freezing water in Wisconsin farming. Okay, I have nothing to complain about or compare to Wisconsin. So you might have tips. Yes, I love my tent. I mean, so this yurt is in just outside of Santa Fe, and this is where I am part-time up on the land. Yeah, so Wisconsin, and that's the other thing. Okay, so I haven't Googled this yet, but those of you that are up in northern climates, what do the animals do when all the water's frozen? I'm like so confused and kind of alarmed, but I also know animals have been dealing with freezing water forever and they manage. But I pumped about 100 gallons into a tank thinking, okay, at least the animals will have water because we're in drought right now. But of course it froze solid. So and the little creek that we have that is a seasonal creek that hasn't been running, it has a seep. So there's been a little bit of water in that seep, but it is frozen. What do the animals do? So this is my latest pondering. And my other latest pondering is about a post that somebody put up on Instagram last week. That was a picture of one of the pages in Warrior Goddess Training. And it was lesson 8. So it's all about speaking your truth, using your voice. And what they were sharing was, you know, did you all grow up with any of these beliefs or ideas? And it was a list that I had created of just the way that women, oh, good. Sorry, pausing to read quotes, question. Animals always find running water. Here in New York, we have multiple springs that continue to flow. Excellent. Thank you. It's so good to know. Yeah, it's, you know, we don't think about these things, or at least I haven't thought about many of the things that I'm thinking about now because, oh, I've been watching a rescued baby otter that loves the ice. Oh, hi, Leia. When you're way more intimate with the land, like living part-time in this yurt, there isn't the buffer that we usually have when you live in a house. So you're much more aware of wind, weather. Same thing with living up in a tent and being a lot more on the land. So I love it. I don't mind any of the obstacles. And it just makes for me, much more aware of the cycles. I'm really actually enjoying the winter, which is great, and enjoying the cold. And it's made me curious about a lot of other things. Yeah. Yes, animals always find the water, and opportunistic. I grew up farming in water. Keeping water is crucial in the winter. Keeping water is crucial in freezing temperatures. Yes, thank you. So cool. So the other query is around this idea that came from this post on Instagram that was listing ways that we sometimes get domesticated as women around using our voice or not using our voice. And somebody wrote, this list is so outdated, or this, this concept is so outdated that women repress their voice in any way. So it was just a list of things of like, I can't speak my truth if it's going to hurt somebody else's feelings. I need to be nice all the time. Different things that I've heard women say over the years of how they were domesticated around their voice. And the responses were fascinating, because one woman was saying, this list is so outdated. Nobody gets domesticated this, like, we don't raise anybody this way anymore. I don't believe any of this. And another post was like, I'm not raising my daughter this way. She's going to have a voice. And at first I was like, maybe the book's outdated. Maybe Warrior Goddess training is outdated and nobody's being raised in this way anymore. And how cool is that? Like, if women are actually being raised to not be domesticated in the same ways that we were 50 years ago, 100 years ago. But then I got kind of alarmed. I got really alarmed, actually, because I realized what's happening, what happens in all forms of oppression, is that it goes underground. So what was once blatant oppression, which this is true in relationship to women, in a relationship to people of color, to Native Americans, to Black people, like the systemic racism, but it started off as very blatant. Same with patriarchy, very blatant. Women are not as capable as men. They're not as smart as men. And that was just the belief. Everybody thought that was true. Not everybody, but that was the going belief, for example. And this year, 2020, is the 100-year anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. And really, it gave white women the right to vote. Women of color didn't have the right to vote until 1965, like officially. But in that, it's not very long ago. 100 years is really not that long. And what's happened in that time, because women at that time had to really fight for the right to vote, what's happened in that time is that we're not dealing with as much, we're still dealing with plenty of blatant oppression against women in the United States. In other countries, there's still lots of blatant oppression happening. Not so much in the United States, but the problem is that it gets more and more subtle. And what I see is that it goes underground. And what starts to happen is that women are being raised to believe, which I believe is true, but there's a caveat to this, to believe you can do anything you want, you're incredibly powerful, you have a voice, you can have whatever job you want. But what's happening is that women, I talked to a lot of women that go into corporate or go into law or go into different fields, and they're finding that it's a struggle in a lot of different subtle ways where their confidence is getting eroded. And what's happened is that the oppression has gone underground. It's like Bermuda grass. If you've ever had a garden, for those of you that are gardeners, you know this. If you know about Bermuda grass or any sort of tenacious weed, is that, hey, Shakti, that you can clear the surface and think like, level playing field. I can plant whatever I want to. This looks good, right? But the root of the Bermuda grass or whatever that tenacious weed is still under the ground. And it'll pop up everywhere and can strangle your plants. And so when we start off thinking, look, level playing field, all I have to do is do what I want and it should be fine, right? I have the confidence, I have the voice, I've been taught I can do whatever I want to do. But suddenly, all of these old energetic pattern structures start to pop up. And what my alarm was when I was realizing the importance of educating all of us around oppression and how it goes underground, all forms of oppression, is that what starts to happen is people start to believe there's something wrong with me. And I see this happening with a lot of young women, where there's anxiety, when there's depression, when there's confusion, because they're being trained. There isn't oppression anymore. We're done with that. We're beyond that. And yet there still is, in both subtle ways, in blatant ways, and also we're still carrying the energy of the past with us. It takes a long time for that to be cleared, and we have to be a lot more vigilant and present about what are the subtleties of where I'm oppressing myself now. You know, when we look at domestication, the way that we domesticate humans, punishment, reward, often a lot of what's woven in is judgment and victimization that gets woven in there. And at a certain point, we start domesticating ourselves. We start judging ourselves to kind of keep ourselves in line. And we are effectively oppressing ourselves. But it's confusing because we don't understand why, where it came from. So I'm a really big fan. You know, so much of the Warrior Goddess teachings and my work is around helping us to break the story apart, to release the old stories that we're carrying, the agreements, the beliefs. But part of that is learning about the history and where we came from. So we understand the larger context, and that we're in a much larger journey than just our own individual journey. So the blog that I wrote today that came out, so if you're on my mailing list, you should have gotten a copy of it. And if you're not, feel free to join the mailing list so you can get articles. I write once a week. That place of really understanding and taking the time to learn history and our place in it, not to define us or drag us down, but actually to give us power, to give us understanding, to give us more agency of what we're navigating, that it's not just personal, that it's systemic. Yeah, Leah, absolutely. Much more subtle, requires more discernment. I love that. So true. Tess, yes, in big transition with this, having been oppressed for years, trying to break free. Yay, go. Lessons from our lineage. Yeah, and all the energy. I tried to write that in the blog, and it was a very challenging blog for me to write. But like you're saying, Judy, like there's all the lessons from the lineage that we're in. There's also energetic patterns that we carry. So just because you may not have been raised in a particular way, you're still carrying a lot of the energetic from your lineage, whether it was directly taught to you or passed down energetically. And it's latent, it's in there. And there's certain things that can happen that all of a sudden, how I think about it is Bermuda grass, like all of a sudden, all of these weeds that you don't realize start popping back up again. And it's because they're latent, they're waiting for the right conditions. And the good thing is that when they do come up, if we're willing to then trace them to the roots and to have that understanding of history and around oppression and how it goes underneath, and cellular memory, exactly. Cellular memory, energetic patterns that get passed down, not just through our lineages, but also from what we call the dream of the planet, the way that humans are dreaming. There's consciousness that moves through, that's trying to keep old structures alive. And when we understand that, I found it's easier then to start to dismantle, because for me, I understand I'm doing this for myself and for everyone. And it's a much longer process and journey that I'm part of. So it really is looking at the long story. Mm-hmm. Hey, Larissa. Hey, Elizabeth. Larissa, that explains the emotional outburst in these old memories. Yeah. So there's a gift in them coming up, because then we can go, all right, now what do I do? How do I navigate? And there's also physical body also changing, and wow. Yeah. And there's, again, the context, the understanding. So I believe understanding our history and where we came from allows us to get free. It's not about ignoring, negating the history. It's not also not being defined by it, but it's about educating ourselves so we understand the systems that we're part of, this larger dream of the planet, that we're all working to get free of. One of the things that my organization is doing right now is we are in the process of working with someone around racial equity. And I've been doing a lot of deep diving around race, white supremacy, patriarchy, all of it, and how it's all tied together, capitalism. And one of the things that we've been exploring is what are some of the ways that white supremacy, and what I think of as the dream of the planet, the way that most humans are dreaming right now, has woven into our organization. And one of the biggest pieces around perfectionism, a rush to get things done, individualism. And so understanding that these are all part of the same system and that we get to explore how to undo them and how to learn new ways of being. One of the biggest ways the dream of the planet operates is good, bad, right, wrong. You get punished or judged and pushed out, and there's good and bad. It's very binary in that way. And that's something that's really deep-seated in most of us and takes a lot of untangling to get to the understanding of you don't have to punish people. We can actually do restorative justice in really powerful ways, but it takes longer. It's more complicated, but it's also more rewarding, and it honors the whole person. So I love that I believe all of us in this time have this incredible opportunity to learn new ways of being that are old ways of being. Right? It's good. Yeah, exactly, Sabrina. Bring it up to heal, like picking a scab off an infected wound. Clean out the infection. Yes, let's get to the infection instead of just covering it up and pretending like there's nothing there. Exactly. Yes. So those are my thoughts. Again, if you are not on the mailing list and you want to get weekly articles that I write and blog posts and podcasts, which I've been delinquent on the podcasting, but I will get back to it next week. Please join the mailing list, and that you can go to warriorgoddess.com. All genders welcome. Warriorgoddess.com. I'll go ahead and share it. www.warriorgoddess.com. And if you just scroll to the bottom, easy to join the mailing list, and that will, again, we send out weekly articles, podcasts, all sorts of resources for you. I'm also open to any questions that you have. So I'll be doing some Facebook Lives that are Q&As, because that's always fun as we go forward. So, yay! And we're also plotting. For those of you that have been part of the community for a while, you know that we do these epic love stream extravaganzas and giveaways. So coming soon. Keep all genders because my spiritual child loves you. All genders for sure. So we're going to be doing a December 31st, January 1st, probably all day, all night love streaming to usher in 2021, to release 2020 and usher in 2021. Super excited, still in progress. And then from January 1st to January 11th, I think it is, we're going to be doing a giveaway, one of our epic giveaways. So stay tuned as we process and figure out what that's going to look like. And then I'll be doing some webinars at the beginning of the year. So questions that you have, things that you're excited about or that you want to learn about, let us know. You can always email us. Hey, Judy. You can always email us at hello@heatherashamara.com. Hey, Layla. heatherashamara.com. Oh, Judy, please kiss the horse noses for me. Oh my God, I miss that smell so much. I love horses. Hi, Amber. So, all right, my loves, thanks for tuning in. I look forward to connecting with you soon. I'm going to be going off grid a lot over December. We're planning again a big love streaming December 31st, January 1st, and then a giveaway the 1st through the 11th or so. So look for that. You can always join the mailing list if you want to get notifications of when things are happening, or weekly articles, or the podcast. Hey, Wendy. There you go. So you can go to warriorgoddess.com and get yourself on the mailing list if you're not already. All right, sweet ones. Much love to you. Take good care of yourselves. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.